Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Temple Havat Shalom. I'm Rabbi Matt Berger. Michelle McNicholas was going to be here. She's a little bit under the weather, so she'll not be here this evening. But we are so glad to have our pianist, Joy Katz-Guthrie, with us, along with our tech crew in the back. We're going to be opening with one of the Psalms, Psalm 97. You'll find Psalm 97 right on the screens as well as on page 14. It's the third and lowest paragraph of Hebrew on the page. Light is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. This version arranged by Rick Recht. Tzadikim b'Adonai, b'Adonai, v'hodu lezecher kodsho, lezecher kodsho. Or zarua la tzadiku ish re'lev simcha. Or zarua la tzadiku ish re'lev simcha. Let me add words of welcome to those watching from live streaming land, wherever you are as well. Shabbat Shalom to you. I'd like to invite Barbara Shagrin to help us light the candles, and while she's walking up, we can sing Debbie Friedman's beautiful song, Light These Lights. To you, be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher Kiddushanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu L'hadlik Ner Shel Shabbat.
We'll sing the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Love to share a poem with you called Sabbath Prayer or Shabbat Prayer by the modern liturgist Ruth Bryn. You can find the words right there if you'd like to join me. God, help us now to make this a new Shabbat. After noise, we seek quiet. After crowd of different strangers, we seek to touch those we love. After concentration on work and responsibility, we seek freedom to meditate, to listen to our inward selves. We open our eyes to the hidden beauty and the infinite possibilities in the world you are creating. Break open the gates of the reservoirs of goodness and kindness in ourselves and others. We reach toward the one holy, perfect moment of Shabbat. And on page 24, you'll find the words to the classic Jewish Shabbat table song written by Shlomo Alkabetz many hundreds of years ago. Peace be to you, messengers of the Most High. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Ni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Amlachim, Akadosh Baruch Hu. And turning to our prayer, the Chatzir Half Kaddish, you'll find that on page 26 as we make our way toward the next part of the service, Shema and its blessings. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, b'alma divrach hirutei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon, uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, bagala, bagala, uv'isman kariv, v'meru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach, le'ala mulal me'amaya, yitbarach, yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, Tushbecha tavenechemata damiran be'alma dimeru. Amen. Let's rise now for the call to prayer, the words of the Baruch Hu on page 28. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Leolam Vaed. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai. Please join me on 31, a prayer for creation. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator, time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ma'ariv Aravim, and words of love found on 33. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol. All these things your Torah gives to us. And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives. What could be a truer token of your abiding love than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo. Let's sing Open Up Our Eyes together. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. Open up our eyes, teach us how to live. Fill our hearts with joy and all the love you have to give. Gather us in peace as you lead us to your name, and we will know that you are one. And we will know that you are one. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod. be seated. Thank you so much for those doing harmony. Greatly helps the whole scene when we sing that. We'll continue with the words of the Shema right on page 36. You shall love Adonai your God. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol miodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom alevavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uv'shochtecha uv'kumecha uv'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot bein einecha uchtavtam hamezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kedoshim leloechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeti etchem me'aretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem. In a reading before we sing our prayer of freedom, Mi Chamocha, words of truth and faith found on 39. Please join me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we are taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. And so it is. We'll continue with our prayer, Who is Like You, on page 40. Kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, Ratehilo osef ele, noratehilo osef ele. Malachutecha ra'u v'anecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe Miriam, Zelianu ve'amru, Zelianu ve'amru, Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed, Adonai imlo le'olam va'ed. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, noratehilo osef ele, noratehilo osef ele. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praise are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. And for our prayer of shelter, the Hashkivenu, will be singing the Craig Taubman arrangement. And since I can't split my voice in two to do the harmony, if some of you know the harmony when we get to that part, I'll invite you to do it. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, Hamidenu shomrei, nu lechaim, ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrei, nu lechaim. Ushmor Seitenu Huoenu Lechaim Shalom Me'ata ve'ad olam. Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrei, nu lechaim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomrei, nu lechaim. V'hamidenu shomrei. Let's rise now for the tefillah, our standing prayers, thanking God for the generations who came before us, for our life and our health, as well as holiness. We'll begin on page 46. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot v'imahot, U'mevi Geula livnei v'neihem, Leman Shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magin, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol, Atah Rav le'Hoshia, Morid atah, Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verofech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Micha mocha bal givurot, Umidomela, Melech meimit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'chayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. And feel free to be seated. We'll continue with blessings 4, 5, and 6 of the tefillah. First for Shabbat on page 55. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. We thank God for Shabbat and its holiness. Prayer that God's presence will always be with us wherever we are. On the bottom of 56, Baruch atah Adonai hamachazir shechinato litzion. And a prayer of gratitude and the importance of finding silver linings in life. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha u'cha na'eh lechodot. And our prayer of peace, Birkat Shalom, is found on 60. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever, for you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel and every season and moment with your peace. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses people Israel, Ukraine, and the world with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamvarech et amo Yisrael, v'shalom. We're going to sing Debbie Friedman's beautiful arrangement of our Song of Peace that you can find on 62, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Bimroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'yimeru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimroma Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'yimeru Amen. You'll find the prayer of healing, Mishaberach, right in the middle of your prayer book on page 253. They place it there because it's in the midst of the Torah service on Shabbat morning. And here you'll find our prayer of healing, strength, and courage as we think of the following individuals at this moment. Jacqueline Albin, Penny Barna, Lori Bauk, Joanne Beeman Feidelman, Yonatan Reven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Babs Brown, Stephen Drenane, Harry Fleisch, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, Eve Goldstein, Don Hirschman, Susan Lafer, Cole Montgomery, Michael Ranzino, Gary Rosenberg, Stephanie Ross, Dennis Schulman, Albert Schaefer, Jeff Stark, and Marty Wassoff. Are there any of the names that you'd like to add for healing? Shebehera Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishebehera imotenu mekor abracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. a prominent businessman gets sick, and he's taken to the best hospital in the city. However, a few days later, he abruptly transfers to a small hospital nearby, which is best known for its mediocrity. Upon his arrival, the attending physician is intrigued. She thought to herself, why would this guy choose to leave a world-class facility and come to my modest hospital? So she decides to ask him about it. Good afternoon, she says. I'm Dr. Rosen. I've taken the liberty of looking at your chart. I'll admit that you have some challenges to your case, but we'll certainly be able to help you. But before we get to that treatment plan, I do have one question for you. Was the medical care not good enough at the previous hospital? The patient replies, no. In fact, the medical care is remarkable, with every single doctor more brilliant than the next. I can't complain. I understand, said the physician. Dr. Rosen continues, well, what about the nursing care there? Was it okay? The patient answers, the nurses are absolute angels. I can't complain. Dr. Rosen, now rubbing her chin, wondering, replies, I see. Well, what about the food and the rooms? The patient said, the food is exceptional, truly restaurant quality. And the hospital rooms, they were just redecorated. I can't complain. Finally, Dr. Rosen asked, so tell me, why did you come here? The patient, now sporting a wide grin, declares, because here I can complain. Fetching, as we know, is a time-honored tradition in Jewish history, literature, and lore. And kvetching is one of the best-known Yiddish words used in English, or as some people say, Yinglish, a combination of the two. Literally, the word kvetch means to press or to squeeze together. But in common parlance, it's synonymous with complaining. Now, Jews haven't exactly cornered the market on kvetching, but we've certainly given it the good college try. If you will, take a look at this image on the screen. Who else would come up with a kvetchometer with complaints ranging from, I would say, low-grade oy vey, mashugana, like it's driving me crazy, and one of my favorites, the full-bore kvetch level, fakakta. In all likelihood, I'm told kvetching began way back during the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve stubbing their toe while approaching the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Complaining is, of course, featured very prominently throughout the narrative of the Israelites' journey in the desert. We'll get to that later. And it was also quite prevalent in Eastern European Jewish communities. I know this for two reasons. One, I've watched Fiddler on the Roof, and there's lots of kvetching there. And second, as a good amount of my family tree came from thereabouts, including Russia, I've heard plenty of kvetching live and in person. Perhaps you've had similar experiences during your lifetime. Yet, complaining runs counter to the Western expectation of remaining calm and carrying on. About 2,300 years ago, the Greek philosopher Aristotle wrote that those of a, quote, manly nature don't share their suffering with others so as not to become a burden to them. The British are well known for maintaining their composure during challenging times without revealing too much emotion, exemplified by the phrase, keeping a stiff upper lip, like this gentleman. You'll see right on the screen, taken from the cover of a book published in 1958, although interestingly enough, this phrase actually started in Massachusetts in the USA. It's just attributed usually to the Brits. And for better or for worse, here in America, we're socially obliged to answer the oft-repeated question, how are you doing, with a smile and some variation of the sentiment, great, regardless of how we're actually feeling. So what does Judaism teach us about kvetching? That it's far from ideal. In the first major written collection of oral teachings called the Mishnah, a sage named Ben Zoma asks, who is wealthy? And his answer, one who is content with his or her lot. I added the her in there. There's a striking difference between this and the grumblings and complaints of the Israelites, who often pined for the cucumbers, leeks, melons, and the abundance of fish that they regularly caught in Egypt by the banks of the Nile. In the ensuing 40 years, we learn the Israelites absolutely harangued Moses with a litany of complaints, issues ranging from the less than delectable taste of the miracle food called manna, to a general lack of meat, to the difficulties of finding water in the desert. It's no wonder that Moses eventually lost his temper. One of these times, Moses was feeling particularly bereft, and he dramatically asked God, why, God, have you punished me? I'd rather perish here in the desert than continue leading the Israelites for one more day. Well, thankfully, cooler heads prevailed. With all this said, I do believe there's one positive aspect when it comes to kvetching, because when used wisely, kvetching can be an important coping mechanism for our psychological well-being, because it affords us the opportunity for catharsis and release. Case in point is the TV sitcom Seinfeld, one of the most greatest and most popular and influential programs of the 90s, where Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David, both brilliant comedians, elevated the kvetch to an art form. Week after week, so many of us here watch Jerry, Elaine, Kramer, George, and the postal carrier Newman navigate the world around them. I remember laughing hysterically one episode after the next, sometimes needing to actually stop and catch my breath and relax for a moment or two. This talented ensemble turned run-of-the-mill kvetching into comedic gold, proving that laughter and humor can help us become more flexible and, as you'll see on the screen, more resilient. This week's Torah portion offers a glimpse of why resilience is so important in life. As we begin the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, the fifth and final book of the Torah, Moses gathers all of the Israelites. They're overlooking the river Jordan from Mount Nebo in Moab, which is now in Jordan. And Moses reminds them about the times they kvetched or complained. But in doing so, Moses is teaching us that facing challenges and setbacks is simply part of life, and all of us are tested in one way or another. Moses was certainly tested during his first encounter with Pharaoh. Not only did Pharaoh outright reject Moses' request to let the people go, he also didn't even recognize the presence of God. Moses was crushed. But after turning to God for help, he was assured that eventually things would get better. Sometimes we need to dig really deep to find our reserves of strength, courage, and resilience. Just think of the countless leaders who have faced setbacks before achieving success. President Abraham Lincoln lost, by my count, no less than 8 voting elections before reaching the highest office in the land. And during the Civil War, he was beset with any number of challenges and a heavy heart. Now he's regarded as one of our greatest presidents. In 1913, the composer Igor Stravinsky's the rite of spring was marred with booing from the audience, followed shortly thereafter by a riot. He was obviously ahead of his time with this avant-garde score. Yet today, this ballet and orchestral piece is performed throughout the world. Even early Impressionist painters had a difficult time putting shows together and being recognized by the art world. Now the paintings of Van Gogh, Manet, and Monet are featured prominently in museums and galleries throughout the world. Whether as parents, grandparents, in our work life, among friends, or in daily conversations, it's inevitable that we'll hear things that we don't want to hear and see things that we don't necessarily want to see. But our character is revealed during these moments. Author Jim Collins writes, "The signature of the truly great versus the merely successful is not the absence of difficulty, but the ability to come back from setbacks, even cataclysmic catastrophes, stronger than before." Time and again, Moses' resilience was tested with Pharaoh and with the Israelites. But in the end, he emerged stronger in faith and deed because of it, with eyes undimmed and vigor unabated. A remarkable arc of growth over the course of one lifetime. We can aspire to this as well. So the next time that you hear someone kvetching or complaining, think for a moment, is this the good type of kvetching Rabbi Matt was talking about in his sermon? Or is this just run-of-the-mill kvetching, which really won't help the situation? It's an important distinction that can change the course of your day. Good kvetching is a positive coping mechanism because it leads to resilience, the ability to bounce back more quickly from life's inevitable challenges. But resiliency isn't only good for us. It's just as important that we teach our kids and grandkids about it. This takes a great deal of time and a very healthy measure of compassion and patience, but it is worth it, or at least I'll tell you when my kids are older. I'd even say that it's a mitzvah, it's a sacred obligation. Going back to Seinfeld in the last episode, Jerry and his crew were found guilty of violating the Good Samaritan law. They end up in a jail cell, they sit down and they hear the door clink, but amazingly, they didn't complain. Instead, they showed resiliency, finding humor even in their dire straits, with Elaine wisely noting that the single phone call that you receive while in jail is indeed the king of all calls. Regardless of how many challenges that we face, there's always beauty and a silver lining to be found in life, along with the opportunity to make someone's day with a little bit of humor and a grin. Shabbat Shalom. We are going to continue with the Aleinu, page 282. Please rise as we open the ark. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, v'lo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu kekol hamonam. V'anachnu korim u'mishtachavim u'modim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz Vayom ahu Bayomahu Yeh Adonai Echad. Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad. On page 294, you'll find the words to the Mourner's Kaddish, words of praise, as we think of families in the period of Shloshim, first 30 days, mourning their loved one. So we fondly remember Marcia Goldstein, wife of Gary Goldstein, Jody Kaplan, family of Marion Kaplan, and Janice Drenane. There's an error in the book, a relative of Carol Sussner. We'll mark the yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones. Actually, before we do that, Tony Bennett died. Great singer whose career, especially with the Lady Gaga, they did a whole series of concerts, which was just absolutely remarkable toward the end of his life. May he rest. The yahrzeit anniversary of passing of loved ones. We fondly recall this Shabbat Jesse Y. Arfa, Annie Becker, Sidney Brandeis, Sandra Brindis, Joseph Cohen, Marjorie M. Cohen, Bernard Doff, Ann Dorfman, Beatrice Galati, Leonard Goldman, Nolan Goldsmith, Betty Greiner, Joseph Halpern, Florence Hess, Jerome Hirschman, Hanley M. Horwitz, Marvin Kramer, Janice Loeb, Stu Morovsky, Lois Masarski, Gertrude Meza, Arnold Molish, Joseph Pascal, Jean Patrick, David Peskin, Solomon Post, Martha S. Lederer, David Salton, Dave Siegel, Samuel Slavin, Virginia Stevenson, and Brett Wilson. Rabbi Mark Dov Shapiro, the yahrzeit was last week. Are there any other names to add, please? We say Zichronam Livracham, may the memories of all of these good people continue to be a blessing in their loved ones and friends' lives as we rise to offer the words of Kaddish praise together. Yikadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, v'yalma divrach hirutei, v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'amei al-maya, yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudashah brihu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran b'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mramav hu yasei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace to descend on us, Israel, Ukraine, and throughout the world, as we say, amen. V'imru, 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 amen. V'imru, 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 amen. Feel free to be seated. We will move toward the beginning of the prayer book and the motzi. All the kids, youth who are here, feel free to come forward. We've got at least 3 in the house. Come on up. 4, yes. Pick one, anyone. All right. Join us in the motzi. Ha-motzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our joyful prayer is said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Say B'tei Avon, enjoy each and every one of you. We're a little bit out of order, but we're still going to do the Kiddush anyway. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddishanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'avahu v'ratzon inhilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki vanu v'acharta Yotanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha b'ava uvratzon inchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. Chaim to life. A few quick announcements for Shabbat. Many thanks to Joy for accompanying me during the service. Our tech crew in the back. Bruce Lowett, as well as Carrie and Sarah and Taylor. I'd like to thank Saltave for being a greeter this evening. Sisterhood's annual honey fundraiser is underway. This 8-ounce jar of honey is a perfect way to wish someone a sweet and healthy new year. Info on how to order is found in the service booklet, as well as on the Sisterhood page on our website, avatshalom.org. This Sunday, the book club meeting, which is sponsored by Brotherhood, will begin on July 23rd, 10:30 a.m. with a bagel and lox breakfast. An informational meeting for our June 2024 trip to Israel will take place Saturday evening, August 26th, with Israeli-style refreshments and a beautiful Havdalah service. And following the service and our closing song, feel free to join us in the social hall for refreshments. You can follow along our final song. You can find right on the screens, or if you have your prayer book in front of you on page 17, you'll find the words to Romamu, Exalt Adonai, our God. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishakavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishakavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu. Adonai Eloheinu v'yishakavu lehar kodsho. Romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishakavu lehar kodsho. Shabbat shalom, one and all. Shabbat shalom to you watching at home on the live stream.